The world is saved. The living room's dark save for light being cast from the big TV screen and the imminent sunrise that's teasing the one starry sky with whispers of morning.
George, how are you?
I've actually been better because I can remember a time before I played this game and it was a good time. And so my life by comparison has lost a bit of meaning. How about yourself?
Yeah, no, I'm in more or less the same place, which is exciting because, we've put out a number of these now and I'm, I think we've been pretty good about not like chaining them where each one like stands on its own as its own beautiful, unique island. This is the worst game we've played so far.
Yes. Yeah, no, because we do try to keep each one its own thing. But when we played Golden Axe, we were like, this is rock bottom. But as it turns out, there's rock bottom, 50 feet of shit, and then Mortal Kombat 2. So
yeah, and I'm particularly enamored by how unhappy I was playing this because I have very fond memories.
Right? Yes.
And this is the first game we've played where I was like, oh, only with nostalgia goggles on is this enjoyable at all.
I would say only with nostalgia goggles on is this acceptable. Like without nostalgia goggles, like you put on the nostalgia goggles, you're looking at a very fun, interesting game. When you take them off, you're looking at a war crime.
Yeah, so I have incredibly clear memories of playing this at my friend Kevin's house. He lived right across the street. He had some games I didn't have at the time, and I think all of my fighting game experience in hindsight was multiplayer, which means you can gauge yourself to your opponent, and you're not just getting trounced by the computer.
Right, which is basically a omniscient god, but yes.
Yeah. So we played here. We'll get the top stuff
of the hour.
Yeah. So we played Mortal Kombat 2 on Super Nintendo. This unfortunately is still from the era where different console ports were like dramatically different. So maybe we would have had a different experience on the Genesis or on an arcade cabinet, but we didn't. Right? We played on Super Nintendo. That's what we had available.
Yep.
93, which is kind of a little mind-boggling to me because that means that I was leaving my house, walking across the street, down a couple doors to sit and play this game when I was like under 10.
Yeah.
No,
I remember as far as the age goes, like this, I think if not this game, games around this time is when the ESRB said we should probably get a handle on this, like, and start existing. So,
yeah, I think it was the first. I don't know exactly when the ESRB started, and too lazy to look it up. But the first one had a huge amount of controversy, and then so the first Mortal Kombat had no blood on the Nintendo platforms because that's not how Nintendo rolls. And then people just started throwing money at the Sega Genesis because they wanted the one with the blood. Right. And then when Mortal Kombat 2 came out, the Nintendo of America was like, it's not that bad. It's kind of cartoony. We want your money.
Yep. Yeah. No. And that was the thing is I did want to make sure that we played a version with the blood because I honestly do think that was like, I remember as a kid like that being the thing. It's like, oh my gosh, there's blood.
And there were wacky Game Genie codes that would turn it weird colors like orange and green.
Oh, yeah. No, that just came screaming back to me. but yeah. So to which leads us nicely into visuals. What did you think of the visuals?
So I have mixed feelings about this because in general, I would say the pixel art did not age well. Like everything feels very angular and jagged in a way that was not pleasant to look at. But my awareness of what this represented for games going forward in like near real human like faces and body movements, because they actually did like some kind of lightweight motion capture and then did like pixel art over it. And that kind of stuff, like that was a big deal in fighting games. And then there were later fighting games where they actually like 3D mapped textures on, and it made everybody look like monsters that crawled out of the uncanny valley to eat your soul. But it's like we needed those steps. But as my old Flipping Tables co-host Mike used to like to say, Final Fantasy VII was amazing when it was new, but nobody looks back fondly on giant hoof hands.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is that, it's like, what is it that they often say in science where it's like, we stand upon the shoulders of giants. Like, we would not have what we have today if not for the things that came beforehand. But that being said, I don't normally, come home and try to start a fire with, like my twig and whatnot. I like to turn the dial and have suddenly fire.
Yeah,
so
yeah. Boom, fire dial.
Yeah. And with most of the other games that we've seen as well, I do think that it's important to split the visuals into two categories, like how it views aesthetically, which I agree with was kind of, I want to almost say innocuous. Like it was like neither stunning nor like it didn't assault me like the rest of the game did. I will say one thing that jumped out at me with the visuals is the complete lack of telegraphing of moves from your opponent.
Yes. No, everything happens like no one draws back to punch. Every punch is thrown with full strength from wherever their body is.
Exactly. Yeah, that drove me literally to drink. Like I was playing the game and then I started drinking to deal with this problem. So because like I would be sitting there, I was like, okay, all right, now let's do this. I'm gonna try something fancy. And oh no, punch to the face. All right, that's cool. Well, maybe something. Oh no, still the same punch to the face.
Yeah, it's just that straight high punch, just like boom, 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 dead. Yeah. It was just like, man, I remember not being good at this, but not this bad. Yeah.
So I would say that definitely that was something on the visuals that stood out to me is because and also for full disclosure, fighting games are not my thing, have never really been my thing. So like I'm bad at them. The only game that I excel at is Smash Brothers, which is loosely a fighting game.
Smash Brothers is to fighting games as Mario Kart is to driving games. It's fantastical and shenanigans. Yeah. Like more fantastical than ripping somebody's spine out and throwing them into a vat of acid. I mean, it's like it's cartoony.
It's rubber bandy. It's very kind of like all over the place. So I would say that's the only fighting game that I enjoy. Any other fighting game I played has not gone well. This one though by far took the cake. So I would say like the fact that there were absolutely no telegraphs meant that there was no counterplay to be had.
No, it's a very, and I mean, this is kind of bleeding into gameplay mechanics, but it's a different play style to say, oh, when I do this, the computer is likely to respond in this way.
Right.
Just that I know from history, not because I'll see it coming in any way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. But then to come back to the aesthetics of the visuals, I think that like you said, like as far as the sprites go, the humans, I forgot how I don't want to sit in my glass house and throw stones, having never created a game myself, but how lazy they were because like you've got
a lot of palette swapping.
A lot of palette swapping, right? Yeah, like because you got like Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. And Reptile, I'm like, oh yeah, right.
And Smoke.
And yeah, exactly. And Smoke, who I didn't take the time to even attempt to unlock.
And a little bit.
Yeah. So like those three, and then you have Katana
and Jade.
Melina and Jade.
Oh, and God, so much palette swapping.
Yeah, and so those all them palette swaps, and then you have like the other actual players. So I had forgotten. I was like, oh wow, so there's because I remember thinking like, oh man, 12 characters. It's like more like eight.
Yeah, I mean in their defense, they fight a little differently.
They do.
So this is another thing about the visuals that's frustrating. Is did you notice that everyone is virtually identically sized? So it's like everyone is like 5'10" with like the exact same reach on their punch and the exact same reach on their kick. Like they look a tiny bit different, but every single person I fought, like if they threw a regular kick or regular punch or a sweep or something, I always felt like, well, that could have been anyone. Like the special moves are different, but every regular thing is basically identical, which means if you get swept a lot, you can't choose a character who has a long reach because they all have the same reach. So like you always have to get within the exact same threat zone.
Yes. No, and that kind of like just kind of goes to the overall laziness of, you know, all the characters are effectively the same. Like you said, like the special moves are a little bit different, but if you can't do the special moves, which spoilers, I couldn't. Like then yeah, like you said, like the game quickly gasses out because you're like, oh well, there's 12 characters / 8 characters / 1 character. There's one character, except I will say for Braka, right? Is that his name?
Yes. Yes. Like demon looking guy.
Yeah, Baraka Obama.
Now we might be talking about two different guys.
Yeah, wait, the different person. No. Yeah, the guy with the teeth. Yeah.
And
I was like Brock, and I was like, no, that I might be thinking of something else. But anyways,
like B.A. Baraka from A-Team.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It just when you say Baraka, you like your brain says that's not a thing. Like I don't know what you're trying to say. That can't be right.
You want me to really blow your mind? That's also, I think, the name of a cold medicine that's sold over in Europe.
Really?
Yeah.
Don't mix those two things up because you really don't want a guy with huge teeth and knives like trying to fix your cold.
Not even a little bit. No.
The one exception is him. His backwards A attack extends the blade out of his arm, which does give him an like reach that nobody else really has, but it is a special move, you know?
Right.
So that I actually was able to capitalize on at one point because like the person I was fighting was just eating my lunch and all I did was like back away and like swat at him with my sword, like, no, you know? And so the few fights that I won, I did similar, like kick to the face, jump backwards, jump forward, kick to the face, jump backwards, jump forward, kick to the face. Oh yeah, no, I mean, like you could just smell all of the cheese coming out from all the cheese fighting that I was doing. Like my house reeks of cheese now.
So I will say, in defense of the graphics, though, the backgrounds and the environments were pretty much exactly as I remembered them, and in a good way. Like the swirly portal level, like the portal moves, and the weird monks that are floating, like their robes kind of like flow in the wind, and in the like monster tree level, like the tree monster faces like move randomly, and it's like kind of distracting, which is sort of cool because it like you have to be aware of your environment. And like in the acid level, you can like get knocked into the acid as like a fatality, and then like there's bubbles that pop up every once in a while. So like even though every level is an identical, you know, XY plane, somehow they still managed through just a little bit of motion to make the world feel alive. And then through just a few places where you can interact with the environment to make it feel like, oh, I'm actually in this place because this thing happened that could only happen here. And I know it can only happen here because I can see the vat of acid, or I can see the you know, stony bridge that I can fall off of or whatever. So as weird and uncanny valley as the characters look, the environments were very like good, I felt.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I would say that the environments were one of the few things I actually enjoyed because, like, you know, it was very fun to. I would almost say that the environments may be more varied than the cast. Like, there may be more environments.
You might be right.
Then there are like unique character models, but yeah, no, I really did. I would say that I enjoyed that part of it. Now, again, I was not anywhere near skilled enough to interact with the environments because I don't know any of the things to do any of that. But that being said, like, you know, it was kind of cool to be like, oh yeah, I'm fighting in front of Shao Kahn now, and like, oh no, now I'm like, especially the acid level. I don't know why, but I thought all of the weird meat hooks added to the aesthetic, you know, of like, yeah, this is not, you don't want to hang out here. This isn't like a place where like when we're done fighting, they're going to like put down the floor and the JV basketball team is going to come out and play for a little bit. Like this is very otherworldly, which was,
which I think is actually the name of it, isn't it? Otherworld.
I think it's the Otherworld tournament. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if they're fighting in Otherworld because, and this is actually something that I was talking to Tara about because she was like, oh man, they should totally create like some like crazy wild narrative surrounding like the Mortal Kombat universe. I'm like, they did. It's the Mortal Kombat universe. Like like I haven't kept up with it at all, but that narrative has gone completely off the rails, So
Any fighting game where they try and have more than one like paragraph of story, it's like it's just bound to go completely bonkers because how else would you explain this nonsense? Like, to jump into the modern world for a minute, isn't the entire story of Overwatch that none of what you're doing is actually canon in the Overwatch universe? Because it wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I think that you can, like, they're vague enough with it that it's just kind of like, oh well, like these heroes have now retired, but now they're being pulled back in for this new thing, whatever it is, and like and they say like sides are being chosen, so the idea is like theoretically, like this is the way that these two sides split up on this one whatever thing. But no.
This is like Danger Room level insanity.
Oh yeah,
like these conflicts would never be happening.
Well, especially when you do some of the maps, and you can do what's called 6v6 no limits, where everybody can be the same character. Yeah. That is completely earth shattering. When you have 6 Roadhogs fighting 6 Roadhogs, it's just the Fatty Brigade versus the Fatty Brigade, and they just sumo all over the place. But we digress.
So what was there anything that reminded you that there is actually a narrative? Because I couldn't tell you exactly what it was for me.
Oh, for me it was honestly, and this is such a non sequitur, but for me it was like when like the thing came up, it was like do 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 do. That immediately led into my mind the dun 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 dun, and immediately I was transported back to those movies that I watched way more than I should have, and then the narrative came screaming back to me. What was it for you?
So I kind of loosely, I had like a fog around my mind where I was like, fighting games always have like the stupidest narratives, but it wasn't like a cohesive thought. It was just like a brain cloud, like Tom Hanks style brain cloud. And in the Shao Kahn level, which is what just jogged my memory, if you go far enough to the right, Sonya Blade is just needlessly like tied up in her like fighting gear.
Yeah.
So like I guess between the first game and the second game, she's captured, and that's part of the narrative. And the only person you see like in bondage and being used as bait is like the young blonde woman. And I was like, oh right, the Mortal Kombat games had a story, and it sucked.
And it was stupid. Isn't there somebody to the left of Shao Kahn as well?
I don't know, but I am going to Google that now because I have my Google box here.
Yeah. No, because like
you talk more about visuals while I look at that.
Yeah, to be fair, I think that like I said, like I only remember Sonya 2, but that's because when I fought in that level, that's the corner that I got pushed into. But I could have sworn that there was a symmetry to that. And I'm curious if I'm right when you look it up. I want to say it's Kano.
Oh, you are totally right.
Yes. God, why can't I use this memory space for something more useful?
Seriously, you're not going to remember your kid's birthday one year, but you will know that they had gender balance on the used as bait characters.
I mean, that does not salvage the story. The story is still like outlandish and awful, but
this is bittersweet because I'm still like, well, at least they didn't just use like a young pretty girl as bait because that's like really trite and terrible, but God, the story is still awful.
Yeah, no, that doesn't just because they didn't do one terrible thing doesn't mean that they did anything good. They just didn't do that one terrible thing.
Yeah. Good on you though. I'm glad that, defending those level designers.
But yeah, I mean, aside from that though, honestly, nothing really. I don't really have anything more on the visuals. The backgrounds were very stunning. The character models were bland and somewhat disinteresting, and the visuals, as far as they affected gameplay, were like the Diaries of a Madman. I mean, it was just
so bad.
Yeah, like the visuals in no way supported gameplay, like even a little.
Nope. Well, especially when you consider how over the top some of the movements are that are then blocked by the computer. For example, I mostly played a Scorpion because I actually remembered a couple of his. It took me a minute to suss them out, but before I had to look them up to confirm, I was like, oh, I actually remember like 2 of his techniques. Good for me. Now to game facts. But one of his things is that he will jump off of the side of the screen he's on and enter the opposite side of the screen with a fist out.
Yeah.
Which means that the opposing player or the computer has literally nothing to go off of but you exiting the world in a seemingly impossible way, because I don't think any other character can do that.
Right.
And then you don't like when Raiden teleports, he reappears just standing. But like when Scorpion does his little screen jump thing, like he enters with a technique thrown.
Right.
And I landed that successfully none times, which means that there must be a specific thing I need to wait for the computer to do so that they don't have time to switch into a block. And I just didn't see any of those opportunities.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I've got remind me when we get to gameplay, because I have a number of strong issues with the way the special move system worked.
Oh yes.
But yeah, no, I mean, like, just the fact that basically you, like you said, and one of the things I was railing about to Megan when, you know, like I was like, nope, done. Just and to be fair, just to give you the visual of my setup, right? So I've got my chair, I'm in front of the TV, controller, my Chromebook is open in front of me with all of the move sets, so that way I can like actually try to do this and like the different fatalities, and like, no, let's really research this. And about the 4th time I got body slammed by Johnny Cage with like no recourse, I just was like, nope, done. Slammed my Chromebook shut, you know, like
controller through the drywall.
Yeah, controller. I was like, nope, nope, done, no. And Megan's like, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm not. But anyways, was basically.
So I don't remember if we said this in any of the episodes, but you and I kind of have like a general rule of like a minimum amount of gameplay.
Correct.
So that we can like speak authoritatively, and neither of us came anywhere close.
No, did not even touch it. To be fair, though, I feel that after so normally when we'll play, because I think that we generally say either beat the game or 4 hours, whichever happens first. You know, that's because that way you can get like a good feel for it. Which is why for that one particular action adventure RPG that maybe one day we might get to play, you know, we may have to dedicate more time to it. But anyways, but normally when we're playing, right, like I shoot for those 4 hours, but as I'm playing, like I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm learning this, and like, oh, this is a little bit different, or let me take another swing at this. Within the first 15 minutes, I felt that I had plumbed the depths of this ever so shallow well, and had found it wanting. Like,
well, I mean, I've seen skillful players, and you can even tell that you could commit patterns to memory like Mega Man boss style, where it's like, okay, if I do A then B, it never works, but if I do A then C then B, it works about 75% of the time. So I'm going to do that until I find a superior strategy. But that just seems awful.
Yeah,
like the idea of repeatedly having to try and like A/B test those patterns, like is like an eye doctor from hell. Like, does pattern A work better? Does pattern B work better? Pattern A or pattern B? And then
better or
figuring
worse?
That out. Yeah, better or worse, and then figuring that out, and then having to find a new pattern and then compare those two patterns, and then finding a new pattern and comparing those two patterns. Like that to me is not fun.
no, there's nothing about this that is fun. This is.
I'm noticing that the majority of what we have to say is going to end up in mechanics.
Yes. No, this is like, let's just say, you know, if this is fun, right? Like if fun is the Earth, then this isn't Alpha Centauri. This is the limit of our telescope's ability to see outward from the planet. Because we're seeing back in time so far, it's before the Big Bang and before light existed. This is before fun existed. No, so wait, there was something on that. Oh yeah, I got up and I was just really, really frustrated because that's what I said was I was like, basically, this is insane because there's absolutely no way for me to react or play against this. The only way for me to know is that this character on this difficulty setting in this arena generally plays like this way. Like when they come up to me, this is what they're going to do, and this is what I need to do before they do it because there is no counterplay. You have to counter before they move, you know? So, which basically makes you like a precog. So, you know, like unless literally, I think that you know, like, cause, and normally too, and this bears on mechanics, but like, you know, in most games, there's like the, I forget exactly what it's called, but it's like the skill to power ratio, you know? And so there's a bunch of moves that have like a low or high, whatever, skill to power ratio, where basically like if you're very, very new, it doesn't take a lot of skill to execute and it has like more power than some other more skilled moves take, but then it caps out, right?
Right.
The amount of additional skill you need to get in order to get past that first hump is mind blowing. And so, and again, like, you know, and this is bleeding into mechanics, but I feel that to put like the capstone on visuals, that part of the reason is because the gameplay is in no way supported by the visuals.
No, I'm with you. And I'll throw out, I'm willing to admit there could be something subtle and amazing that you and I both missed and we suck and it's not the game. But right now I'm pretty confident it's the game that sucks.
Well, even so, I mean, like we are both semi-experienced gamers, you know,
little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would, you know what? No, let's break our arms, patting ourselves on the back. I'd say we are experienced gamers. We have spent many an hour in front of the old game box.
Yeah.
So yeah, if neither of us were able to pick up on it, I would argue that the visuals suck. Like, because then there's no way.
Even little things like Raiden's like flying forward, like Superman, like knock you back thing. Mm-hmm. He goes from completely vertical to completely horizontal in 0 frames. Like he is vertical, then suddenly horizontal. So no matter how far across the screen you are, the only thing you have to indicate that he's doing that is that he is already doing it.
Right.
So you would have to be at the opposite end of the screen when the computer is not likely to do that because it is the one and only time you would have chance to respond.
Yeah. Exactly. So telegraph is like the warning. It would be like if all of a sudden you're driving your car and your car said, "Warning, you are out of gas." It's like, that's not a warning. The warning's supposed to come before the bad thing happens. It's like, hey, heads up, this has happened to you. It's like, oh wait, what? Yeah.
So let's talk about audio a little bit before we just smash controls and mechanics and complaining for the rest of the time.
Yes.
So I was actually pretty delighted by not the music as much as the musical cues. So there was a lot of like the kind of like dramatic like string effect when a battle ends and you die. Like that was very nostalgic for me. I was like, oh, that's like the "you died" music. I'm gonna hear that a lot. But it wasn't like painful from a sound effect standpoint. It wasn't like every time I hear that noise I want to kill myself. It was just like, oh, that's okay. And like the character select screen music, it's very simple. Like I think it's probably supposed to be kind of like a taiko drum, like Japanese style drums. And then, you know, there's like the tower music, I guess, like when it shows you who you're gonna fight next. Never made it past the second person, by the way. Literally.
What difficulty did you play on?
Easy. Well, actually, I played on normal at first, and then I bumped it down to easy, and I was like, I am so bad at this; these feel indistinguishable.
Did you know that there was a very easy setting?
No,
there is. Oh yes, yeah. No, because so that there's your problem, man. Is you had to be a little bit more frustrated when you when you went to select that, because I just kept hammering back on the difficulty because I was angry, and so it was like easy, very easy. It felt like super secret easy mode, you know. But yeah,
well,
no,
like
it gets easier.
Super Mario 3D Land, when you die enough times, they give you the invincibility suit.
Yeah. Yeah, that. So I was actually able to play on a difficulty 5, 10 times at the most. Yeah, no, I was able to play on a levels of difficulty that was far beyond your level of difficulty and easiness.
Yeah, I mean, I'm tempted after we record this to go back and try that, but I'm not actually.
Don't do that to you. You like you, right? Don't.
I do like me.
I
Yeah.
like you, man. Don't do that to you. You don't deserve that.
Me and me go way back. So, but yeah, the music, like the actual level music is kind of like, I mean, I couldn't hum a single song, and if I just heard it, I'm not sure I'd be like, oh, that's Mortal Kombat. But like the little musical cues I felt were very nostalgic, very memorable. Like I immediately was like thrown back to Kevin's room, like where, we used to sit side by side and actually play the Genesis version. So like that part was kind of cool. The sound effects in general were a whole other thing, because some of them, like the Scorpion's like little throwy spear thing, Raiden's like lightning, Sub-Zero's like little ice ball, like those had kind of like super nostalgic, like, yeah, these are old video gamey sound effects, like they sound very cool and video gamey. And then other things like the noise Raiden makes when he does his like Superman thing.
Yeah,
no, that's the teleport.
Oh.
When he does the like flying straight at you and like knocks you back.
Oh yeah.
It's honestly, the only way I could describe it is it sounds like someone being racist about someone else's language that they don't speak. Because
oh god,
he may be saying real words and it just sounds garbled because of the low fidelity, but it's like and it's like, what is this supposed to be?
You know what it is? It's Piccolo trying to say the you know, like,
yeah, I mean that's really it's like when a racist person makes fun of like Chinese, like that's,
yeah.
And Raiden's supposed to be a god, so maybe it's not supposed to sound like English, maybe that's like his language, but it's also in this high like screeching voice.
Or no, that I luckily did not fight against Raiden or play as Raiden, so I didn't have to relive that to be like, oh right, racist.
Yeah.
The thing that stood out to me the most with the sound effects was, so like, first of all, finish him, right? That
oh yeah,
that's iconic, like the finish him. Like, I mean you could never ever play Mortal Kombat or even understand that reference, but somebody said finish him, like you would know that is a thing.
Yep.
And that did not fail to deliver. Also, okay, so the guy like chattering at you, as you like wail on each other, right? Which
I guess it would be Shao Kahn.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be Shao Kahn. Yeah. Which is, I wish I'd gotten to Shao Kahn to see if Shao Kahn talks to you while you kick the crap out of Shao Kahn, but
that'd be very sporting of him.
Yeah, right. Like, good, but but one of the things, so he'll say like good, excellent, but then occasionally he would let loose what could only be described as a semi-sexual groan when you would uppercut somebody. Did you hear that? Like, what was that?
Yeah, I think different techniques have like 2 or 3 pieces they'll sample from, because I know sometimes when you do the uppercut, he says, I think excellent and phenomenal, maybe. It's like, I think it's like some other superlative, but yeah, one of them is just like,
yeah, like,
and you're just like, whoa.
yeah, like he did that, and I was like, what? And then like, so I heard it the first time, I was like, maybe he said something, I just didn't catch it. And then the second time it happened, I was like, I need an adult. Like, I am in a mortal combat, and I suddenly fear for my safety in a completely different way. Like,
yeah, this is the thing that makes me nervous.
Yeah, like fine, rip my heart out. That's totally fine. Dude, get this guy away from me. This weirdo.
So my first bit of playthrough, I did actually play the 2-player with Susan, and after our Golden Axe experience, I was very clear, like, I am terrible at this. I suspect you are terrible at this, and I expect this to be terrible. But I mean, it's a fighting game. Like, most fighting games, I think, are played 2-player, not single player against the computer. So I was like, we might as well, like, and I got the similar, like, oh my God, can we please be done after like 2 rounds? And I was like, yeah, I think I found out what I need to find out. but she then, you know, I continued to play single player, and she was in the room reading or something. But when the like toasty guy, you know, the thing that helps you unlock smoke, like he popped in with the, you know, toasty, and I was like, first off, that was super nostalgic.
Yes, yeah, no, absolutely.
It does not fit. Like, it's so against the aesthetic of the rest of the game, which like takes itself so seriously, and then like this nonsense. And then she actually looked up from what she was doing, and she was like, did someone just stick their head into the frame and like interfere with you? And I was like, oh, that's smoke. And just like blank stare. And I was like, that you have to do a certain thing when that happens to unlock smoke. You know, this sounds crazy just describing it to you. Like,
yeah. No, and that's the thing, is like when you're a kid, like that makes total sense. Total sense. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, then when this thing happens, then you do this other thing. And and the only defense I have for us and pretty much everybody is that when you're younger, you have a smaller frame of reference of the world, of like what is and is not normal. So you're like, yeah, this is totally normal. Like, you know, like water's wet, sky's blue. When this guy pops out, you hit these things and then you unlock smoke. You know, like that's just the way the world works. And then when you get another like 10, 15 years in your belt, you're like, no, that was weird.
Well, I think part of it is, I mean, yeah, it's weird, right? Like there's no working around that, but it's also that the rest of the game takes itself incredibly serious. Yeah. And there are exceptions to that where you could see they were like trying to be silly. Like most of the time when the computer like roundly trounced me, I didn't get fatalities. It was just like an uppercut or, you know, whatever, just like a regular blow. But there was a couple fatalities. There was a couple level specific ones. So like I got knocked off the thing out of the spikes. I got knocked into the acid. Like I died in some pretty spectacular ways.
Nice, good.
Yeah. No,
you're a real Renaissance dyer.
But when you die via babality, the guy who is the narrator, presumably Shao Kahn, you know, saying, you know, finish him. Right. And then buttons, and then like Raiden was the one who did it to me, so he puts his hands up, lightning happens, and then you're a baby. And it's the same like graveled voice, like babality. And it's like I'm sitting here as in my 30s trying to think back to when I was, you know, 10, and I'm like, did I get that was supposed to be funny as a kid? Because I honestly don't remember if I understood at the time, like, scary voice narrator saying ridiculous made up word, character is now a baby. Like, like it's insulting if you do it to someone else because you're like, haha, I turned you into a baby. But I don't really know if I understood, like, oh, that's supposed to sound ridiculous and look ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, my only defense of the game in that area would be that maybe it's like kind of like, you know, South Park or something like that, where it's just kind of like drawing attention to its own, like it's all it takes itself very seriously. It takes itself too seriously. Like it's just super serious. I mean, like we just said, like you fight in an acid room where there are meat hooks hanging from the ceiling. Like what functionality did that room have? Like what do
you put someone on the hook and you lower them into the acid?
But just push them into the acid. Well, then they
torturous.
Yeah, then they don't die as quickly. Anyways, I don't like how quickly we were able to suss that out. Anyways, oh, then they don't die. So yeah, no, that makes sense. Feet first. No, I got it. But no, so it takes itself like super seriously, but then like too seriously. So then it's like, oh, but you know, like super serious, and then bipalities, and then like this guy saying toasty. Like you get it. It's all like ridiculous. It's ridiculous, over the top in every direction. But honestly, I think that they were just kind of like, throw in, I don't know, bipalities. That'll be fun. And it's just kind of like, and as a kid, that's where I went with it. Was like, oh, they have babalities now. I don't even know what that is, but it's totally cool looking, and it's special. It's special, unique, and difficult to accomplish, which gives you cred.
Well, and there was, I totally forgot until just now, but there was also the friendship.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So yeah, I it really seems almost like a kind of like Doom era, like late 80s, early 90s. Like they understood, like, oh my god, this is so over the top. Like, let's insert some totally off the wall shenanigans in there just to mess with people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this leads us nicely to gameplay because I would, like you said, like there were the fatalities, the babalities, the friendship, the all of these special moves, and I would have absolutely loved to have seen some of them or been able to accomplish any of them. Like it would have been really nice to have, I want to say, played this game. Like I don't really feel that I did that. I feel like I played the game in the same way that when you're driving a car, when your dad sits you on his lap and like lets you like coast forward 5 feet into the driveway, Whee! Yeah, you're like, I'm doing it. You're not doing it. You're not.
At least that experience is fun, though.
That is true. That is true. At least when you're done with that experience, you get out feeling like you accomplished something, not feeling like you had something taken from you, like an hour of your time and your innocence.
So the controls, I think, are inextricably linked to the gameplay in a way that is just not as true outside of the fighting genre, because no matter how absolutely like welded shut tight the controls are, if you have to know via magic telepathy powers to push a button, then it doesn't matter how tight they are because you needed to have information the game did not give you.
Right. And yeah, I would definitely agree with that. To as far as the controls being tight, though, I think that is not true at all here. In my humble opinion, I think the controls were looser than expletive deleted and expletive deleted, expletive deleted. Like it was it like they were like I would press a button and it felt like I would press a button, put the controller down, go make myself dinner, come back. And then and it would execute the move. Like it was just so sticky, like wading waist deep through tar sticky.
Yeah, I'm having trouble deciding if I agree that the controls are not that tight or if the complete and utter divorce of like action reaction is what made them feel like the controls are loose, because by the time you have gotten punched in the face and you then go to press the jump button or the block button or the backup button or whatever, you've already been punched in the face. Like your brain is already registering the blood spray because you ages ago, you were punched in the face.
Right.
So it's kind of like, well, are the controls that sloppy? Which they might be, but we'll never know because unless the computer would let you just stand there and like, do the timing checks, which you don't do because they just beat you to death.
That is true. I think one of the other reasons why I think I can point to the controls themselves being loose is not only do they feel sticky, like, I just don't have a great reaction time, but also there was at least 2 or 3 separate occasions, or probably a billion separate occasions. Like I wanted to leap at a guy and kick him in the face, and I leapt straight up and kicked at nothing. And that drove me a little off the wall because I'm confident that my hand-eye coordination is not so terrible that I could messed up versus diagonal up, that bad that many times, Yeah. So it was really like I felt that my input was being forced through a random number generator. So like when I would be like, do thing A, it's like, you mean thing A, B, or C? Well, let's find out which one you did. Oh, no, sorry, you did B, and thus you got punched in the crotch. No, try again. It's like, I don't want to try again. We're done here.
Yeah, and I guess this game has no difficulty curve. Like the first opponent you fight and the third opponent you fight and the 8th opponent you fight are all equally difficult. It's not like, oh, Raiden is harder than Jax or whatever. Like they I felt like whoever was the first person I encountered, they all fought nearly identically, which in a way is like a perk and a complaint about the AI, where the AI is obviously responding to my behavior, and my behavior, it had a really clear way to defeat. So it was like, well, I'm not going to vary from this pattern because every time I do it, he dies. So,
yep.
But it also made fighting different enemies feel more copy paste than the graphics would have even indicated.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, if I get this distance from them, they do a long distance thing. If I'm this middle distance, then they will walk at me and punch me in the face. And if I'm close to them, they will just beat me to death.
Yeah. So on very easy, so here's what I think might have happened, because I played on normal mode for like 2 rounds, and I think got to the second person and then died spectacularly. I was like, time for easy mode. Oh wait, there's very easy. And so I think there actually is a small difficulty curve, but the thing is that we were staring up at it from like underneath the ocean, because on very easy mode, I was actually able to get like 4 from the top.
Oh.
Yeah, no, because I found out if you put it on very easy mode, it turns it from Mortal Kombat 2 into Uppercut the game. So you can literally just uppercut your way to victory up to a point, at which case the game has had enough of your garbage, and then you there is definitely like a point when, you know, like I was, and it was Johnny Cage and it was somebody else the first time. I forgot who it was, but in the most recent one, it was Johnny Cage, where he was just kind of like, hey, buddy, yeah, this far, no further. Special move, special move, special move, and pause. Special move, body slam, special move. And I was just kind of like, good God, you know, like, I don't even know how you're doing any of this. So there is a point where it does spike on the difficulty curve, but you have to be playing on very easy in order to see it.
Well, and that's even more alarming that if, you know, from my point of view, I was like, my God, nothing could ever be taller than this mountain. And then somebody next to me is like, we haven't left the house yet. You can't see you can't see the mountain we're going to climb. It's like, this isn't it.
Yeah, you said like, there's nothing taller than this mountain. It's like, dude, you're climbing up the stairs at the front of your house. Like, you got to go outside first. Yeah. No, it gets way worse. But like I said, like when you put it on, very easy, and so then this actually leads me to another complaint, which was, so I, again, couldn't even gain traction on normal mode. So I can only speak educatedly about very easy mode. So in very easy mode, the only moves I could get off consistently was the uppercut. So I would literally, you know, like crouch down in wait, you know, wait for him to get just close enough, and then bam, right in the kisser, bam, right in the kisser, right? So eventually I got cocky enough to try some special moves and stuff, you know? And so one of the things I did was Sub-Zero, because I was playing Sub-Zero at the time. So I used his freeze ray. And so this also speaks to how sticky the controls are, because it's just roll forward, low punch, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And so I couldn't consistently execute that, you know, like I do it and he'd kind of like duck and then like smile at the guy and then get punched in the face. And then I'd be like, you know, so I did a few rounds of that, but then I did manage to execute it. And all of a sudden I realized, I'm like, he's frozen. Uppercut is the most powerful move I can do to him in the frozen state. Why did I ever try to do this? I should have just cut out the middleman and uppercutted him. Why do any
does
special
freezing
moves?
them take any damage?
Like a minor amount, like not worth the risk it takes to try to execute the move.
Right.
Yeah. So that frustrated me, because I was like, why would I ever stop uppercutting people? Like, just, I'm going to uppercut people until that stops working, in which case I have just lost the game. Like I have one key, and until in the moment it doesn't fit a lock, then I'm just out.
Yeah. I noticed the cycle that I regularly got into was being high punched in the face repeatedly. Mm-hmm. And if you hold down block, so if you get hit the first time and then you hold down block, I think after the third punch you'll start blocking. So you can break that. However, the immediate thing every single character does the second you break their punching you in the face chain is sweep you. And then as you are standing up, they just start punching you in the face again. And I was like, I'm thinking like, there is definitely a way to beat this, but I'm not having enough fun that I'm ever going to discover it. And even if I was told, I don't want to sit here until I'm good at it. Like if someone just said like, oh, the second you their punch doesn't hit you and you've started blocking, you immediately have to jump backwards or duck or something. But it's like, there's no way to discover that, because you get into that loop for 5 seconds and then the battle is over.
And
It's like, I'm not going to do 25 battles over a span of hours to figure that out.
absolutely. And that's another complaint that I had upon the 50-ton pages of complaints that I have is that there is not enough length of time in any given match for you to try anything. Like once you find something, you cling to it like a man clinging to flotsam in a sinking ship. Because like with my uppercut technique, which was immaculate, by the way. I mean, I'm just
even on easy, that was pretty much the only way I survived.
Yeah. Playing uppercut the game is just a blast and a half, let me tell you. But so like eventually I get them down to like 1/10 health or whatever, like they death's door, right? And I haven't been touched. I'm like, let's try some stuff, like let me get fast and loose here. And then like all of a sudden I'd be like on death's door myself after like 1 or 2 exchanges, because like they'd be like high punch, sweep, special move, and I'd be like, I can't get a no uppercut again. Okay, thank God it's over. Oh, thank God it's over. Oh no, there's more because Mortal Kombat isn't a tournament. It's a meat grinder, because if you notice, there aren't any brackets, right?
No, you just climb the tower.
Right. So, okay, but it's supposed to be a tournament, right? So like there's supposed to be one victor. So like if you fight, like Raiden, a god, in round 8, that means he got an 8-round pass.
Yes.
Like
yes. It's a lot more like the tower in Enter the Dragon, where there are just bosses on each floor, and you as Bruce Lee have to fight all of the bosses. But no, it's not a bracket system.
No,
it's not a tournament system. It's not fun.
No, it's not. It's a meat grinder. And also on another personal side note, if I remember correctly, Raiden is a thunder god and like the Earth Guardian, right?
Correct.
Why is he fighting you?
He's the Earth Guardian, but he also has like a huge chip on his shoulder. so he's like, man, if somebody's gonna stop Shao Kahn, that somebody's gonna be me.
Yeah. No. So apparently, like, he is the god of Earth, and also, the person who subsumed the Dead Sea for the place of saltiest thing on the Earth. Yeah.
Geography reference.
Anyways, so that was all garbage. One of the other things that like struck me as particular hilarious BS was and Megan, who was like passively watching, said like, that seems like the game's cheating. I'm like, it feels that way, doesn't it? I'm fighting, I think it was like the 5th or 6th person, so I'm like kind of getting into my groove, I'm uppercutting left, I'm uppercutting right, and that's pretty much it. And then all of a sudden I fight Reptile. Did you ever fight Reptile?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, in my life, not this time.
Yes, in my life, in that I have to go outside sometimes and get rid of the reptiles in my backyard.
Pretty much.
So Reptile can turn invisible.
What?
Yup. Oh, yes.
Wait. While he's invisible, is his little circle shadow still on the ground? Straight up invisible.
Straight up invisible. Like,
so you have to just blindly swing at the air and hope you make contact.
Yup. Yeah, no, I had no visual cue as to where he was whatsoever. Now, the difference, though, is that when a player executes that, he's also invisible to the other player, So, like, it's like the blind fighting the blind, So it's like they don't know where their character is, so you're both kind of guessing. The computer does it, completely different story. Yeah. So, like, literally, like, he turned invisible, I just crouched down and then got kicked in the face, and I was like, okay. And then, but like in my mind, and I felt like I was disproportionately pleased with myself. So crouched down, got kicked in the face. And I was like, okay, that was about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds between when he hit me and like, like that. So I was just kind of like, okay, 1, 2, and then just uppercutted the air and hit him, which makes him visible again.
Nice.
And I was just kind of like, yay, don't do that again, But yeah, like Megan said, like that doesn't seem fair at all. I'm like, it doesn't seem that way, does it? And yet here we are.
Yeah, that any technique like that in a fighting game where it's like, oh, you can become invisible or you can, do something that actually takes away a tool you as the player need.
Yeah,
It's like
like
you can drop a smoke bomb and then, you're both blinded. And it's like, yes, now we are both blinded.
or you can press a button that disables this person's special attacks. It's like that's not okay.
Yeah.
And but to be in defense of like modern fighting games, which I also hate. I mean, just full disclosure, I don't like
Throwing that out there.
Yeah, just throwing that out there. So say I don't want like some like listener to be like, well, actually, with I don't want to get well actually'd on this. Like,
Nope. They all suck. We suck at them.
But like if you do have a character that does have the can turn invisible button or the smoke screen button or the turns somebody destroys their special attacks button, they are normally then overall a more weak fighter. Like they have this like one uber ability that's like super powerful, but then if they can't execute it or execute it well, then the entire character's garbage.
Yeah.
Like, so there's some balance there, but as we just mentioned before, there's no difference in these characters' physical abilities. The only difference is the specials. So having one character that can turn invisible and none of the others that can, that's a pretty like jaw-dropping advantage. It's like time travel is an advantage. It's like, they should have had like, the Time Lord character where he just like every time he gets hit, he just goes back in time to before he was hit.
And then hits you.
Or what was that? Was that one game that was really popular? I didn't play you. Braid. Like
Braid.
Yeah. Braid
like
should
game.
be in Mortal Kombat.
That's a fun game. I think Braid's the name of the game. I think the character's name is Tim. I think it's Tim.
It would be Tim.
Yeah, I mean he's just like a average British guy.
Yeah.
Do you know the twist to that game?
Yeah, you told me that. Like,
it's so good.
Or the villain.
Yeah. Even knowing that the game is worth playing just because because like I knew that the first time I played it. Sorry, spoilers, anybody, whatever.
Yeah. Well, if they really like Braid, they can just go back in time before you spoiled it.
Yeah, because if you really like something, you inherit its powers.
Yep.
But yeah, it's even knowing that was coming when I got to the end and you actually see it happening because you go through the whole final level chasing the guy who's carrying the princess, and then the level against your will plays in reverse, and it's like, oh no.
Yeah. No, I mean that's the thing is that and spoilers like that, like a lot of times just the visceral act of playing it, it's like saying this, it's very similar to saying to somebody like, hey, you should play The Last of Us, it's a pretty emotive game, and then you play The Last of Us and you're like, oh man. And I think that both of those tie back into our main plot line, which is I would have rather played either of those games than this game. Game was terrible.
I would rather have just stared at the box art for either of those games.
I would have just rather sit silently, arms folded in front of me, staring at drywall than played this game.
Yeah, and I think it's, and again, like we've done a pretty good job of not stitching too many episodes together into like a cohesive narrative, but recently we just played a game that both of us admittedly were not good at, and I admittedly was terrible at. And I still enjoyed it. Like, it was hard. It was frustrating. It wasn't something I would pour hours and hours into, but I was like, okay, I see why someone likes this. And if I put in the time, I believe that I would get better at it, because even in just my short time for Nostalgia Goggles, like, I got a little bit better than I was when I first sat down. I do not feel that way about this game. And I would say I could even broadly apply that to the genre. Like, there was a time when I was pretty okay at Smash Brothers, and I'm sure right now I absolutely suck, and I could probably work my way back up to being pretty okay. But like a Soul Calibur or a Tekken or like a modern Mortal Kombat, like, I don't think they would be quite as rigged and terrible and unfair as this one was. And I cannot imagine being able to put in enough time to get good at it enough to enjoy it without going insane.
Yes. No, it's like for every skill point that you put into Mortal Kombat, you take 1 point of wisdom damage, and you have to like wait a week to recover. Like it's very taxing and draining. And again, like fighting games, not our thing. I've seen and played. I think maybe it is No, Soul Calibur. That's the one that we had back in college.
Yep.
and even that one, though, even playing against somebody who was more skilled at the game than I would ever care to be personally,
and was not fun to play with.
There it is, and that is also correct.
I mean that factoid is relevant to the tangent you're going on.
Somebody who was who was playing it to win, not playing it to have mutual enjoyment of the media.
A sore winner.
Yes, a sore winner. Exactly. So even in that context, though, I was able to execute on some things that I felt were like clever or good or interesting. You know, literally in this game, the minute that the well of uppercuts like ran dry, I hit a wall that was insurpassable. And where that particular narrative came to its close was fighting Jean-Claude Van Damme. Johnny Cage. My bad. I get those.
It's obvious, like they're so similar.
Yeah, right. So that's racist. No. So, anyways, all this is true. So I was fighting Johnny Cage, and he has, and I don't know if all the characters can do this because I only saw Johnny Cage do it, but he has a body slam attack. Can all the characters do that?
Yes.
Well, he started using it. And so, like, I was like, all right, man, I'm just going to do my body slam. All right. You know, it's okay. It's cool. Sometimes you get body slam. Sometimes you uppercut. Sometimes the uppercuts you. You know, it's fine. It's cool. It's a body slam. Oh, no, wait. And then just body slam. And I was just kind of like, okay, let's try something new. And so I was like, all right, let's switch it up. So I was like, let's actually try to play this game. And I was like, you know, I had my all is lost moment, you know, and I was like, now is when and then he like special move, body slam, special move, uppercut, dead. And I was like his victory was flawless. And so like after that, I was like, I can't touch him, you know. I mean, it was very similar to I think the first time when like we would fight Sifu, you know, where it was like I'm out, man. It's just
it's like being in a cloud of bees.
Yeah, it's just God, it was so terrible.
So the order that you fight your opponents in, I'm fairly sure Mario Kart style is based on who you are. So like if you start as, you know, Scorpion, you fight the same person first. If you fight as you know, Jax, you would fight a different person first, because why not, right?
Yeah.
But it's a little bit of a bummer that the person who ended up being right on the other side of that difficulty curve had to be Johnny Cage. Like, probably the lamest character.
Oh, yeah, that didn't help, man.
Even Jax, who's just, I guess he's like a boxer.
He's a cop, isn't he? Isn't he Sonya's partner?
That was a movie thing, to be sure. Was that also a game thing?
That I don't know. All I know is, I mean, realistically, the bulk of my knowledge of Mortal Kombat's story comes from the first movie, which is it was enjoyable, and the second movie, which was laughably terrible.
Yeah, no, the second movie was nestled just so warm and lovingly into like good bad, where like you enjoy making fun of it. Like I don't think I ever watched that movie and took it seriously, but man, did I enjoy. Like I would go out of my way to be like, you guys want to watch Mortal Kombat?
Yeah.
Like, and then just make fun of it for like 2 hours. Okay, yeah, we're all in agreement. Okay, I'll pop popcorn.
Mortal Kombat, yeah. Well, I mean, and also too, I mean, to speak on the movie, that song is very catchy and iconic.
God, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, no, I have definitely, well before, you know, beginning training in actual martial arts, like I spent a lot of time just like slamming into friends while that like blared in the background on repeat. You know,
yes.
Yeah, and then like all of a sudden, you know, you're just like you're like, what were we doing? Like, I don't know. I feel like I might be concussed, which then leads us back into the game, because when I was done playing the game, I felt as though I had been beaten up and was concussed.
Yeah, I feel like we're obligated by the spirit of the show to, you know, actually ask out loud, like, did it hold up?
No, it held up like a deck of cards trying to hold up the Eiffel Tower. It held up. It folded faster than Superman on Laundry Day.
So yeah, I'm in full agreement that not only was it terrible this time, but I will go so far as to say that even the fond memories I had playing this game with my childhood friend, like I couldn't extrapolate those fond memories all the way to gameplay. Like that is how unenjoyable it was. I remembered being happy to be with my friend. I remembered being happy to be playing video games with my friend, but I can't directly associate that. There's like, it's like in an old movie when the title card would come up and it's this scene missing.
Nice.
So like I go into Kevin's room, we sit down, I pick up the controllers, and then scene missing, and then I'm like, see you tomorrow, friend, and like walking back out of his house. It's like I know some of those times Mortal Kombat 2 happened during that scene missing, but I can't prove it.
Well, because you know what happened was that the experience that you had here was so bad that it reverberated back and through time and tainted that. And here's my fear and why we should never ever play this game again is that should you continue to play it, it might actually start to emotionally taint the memory. Like I'm picturing like you know, like older you, like 70s, whatever, after you've mastered time, right? And so you're sitting there like looking at like all of the different scenes of your life, and it shows you just like sitting down like, no, maybe I'll play Mortal Kombat one more time, and like you like quick shoot glance look over at like another scene, like, and it's you and your friend playing like young, and it starts to grow like gray and
Yeah, like when you take damage in a first person shooter, it's like
yeah, like it starts like, and like the music kind of goes like and you're like no. So yeah,
I like that in your presumed version of the future, I become a Time Lord.
Yeah. No, I mean it's you know you got to roll with it. I mean by then you know you're like 10th dimensional creature, and you know. Yeah,
no, this is all fine. Like I wouldn't even be mad if you were right.
Well, you wouldn't be mad. You'd be 10th dimensional.
That's right.
You have people to do that for you.
Wait, are we beyond such things, or are we just rich jerks?
Can it be both?
I hope so.
like you're beyond such things, but should you want to indulge, you don't even need to indulge. You have people to do that for you.
Yeah, this game.
Pretty much. I would say that the only good to come out of this game is the conversation that we have had here. Like I have enjoyed this conversation. I have enjoyed nothing about this game. It can burn in the fiery depths of hell.
Yeah. So I'm going to end this. I mean, and feel free if you have anything else, but my last comment here is, I'm going to share this anecdote. So, I'm playing, I'm miserable. I'm starting to forget what my children's faces look like. And then I kind of had that dawning moment where I was like, well, at least I'm going to get to crap all over this with George, and that'll be pretty great. And then I'm putting my children down to bed, and I get a text from you that says, dude, I'm really sorry. Like I could not I couldn't make it work. Like, I know we're supposed to play this minimum, and like, I'm really sorry. Like, I kind of had to phone it in, and like the skies opened and I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to go in there and complain about this. We're going to go in there and complain about this because we had the same miserable experience. It's like we like you were in Vietnam and I was in Korea, and like then one day after decades of knowing each other, we're at the bar and you mentioned the war, and I'm like, the war? And it's like, oh my God, like you were enlisted, I was enlisted, and then like we have all these war stories. So I was genuinely excited when that happened, because I was like, oh, thank God, because if you had an amazing time and then I had to be like the rain cloud over your fond memories, that would have been tragic.
No, and I think the one thing that we can say that definitely we can bond over with this one particular thing is it first time in the series, first rage quit.
Oh yes, yeah, got nowhere close to the total playtime, nowhere close to beating it. Never ever want to touch it again.
Quit in a huff. Took my controller, went home, screw that. So with all of that being said, for the next episode, I feel that we just have a well-deserved palate cleanser coming. Like maybe a new game type.
Like a Tetris?
Yeah, it's like Tetris in that it's Legend of Zelda. We should play Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. We should do it.
No.
Oh.
At some point, though.
Now you're the rain cloud on my happy memories.
Yay, and that's where the credit music starts.
The curtain falls, the music plays, the credits roll, then it all fades to black, and you're left by yourself. The fanfare is gone, there's no player two there by your side to share victories won. But as you slowly progress down the hall to your bed, a few great events leak back into your head from the time that you spent traversing the land, battling evil, fighting the darkness, just sword in hand. Your memories creep in with the edge of a smile.